Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Sharon, for those of you who don't know me, and I channel archangels. Michael in particular has been coming in very regularly, and he's the one that requested this particular YouTube channel. So let's begin. Greetings everyone, this is Michael. I welcome all of you, whether you've been here before or this is your first time. We all know that you are going through a very difficult period of time. And unfortunately, it will continue for a while yet. We don't predict the date on which things change. We predict the circumstances which allow things to change. And the circumstances that are required for changes to occur are a direct increase in the openness of each person's heart. Now, you don't have to do this alone. No, because you are assisted at this time with an enormous influx of light-filled energy, which is affecting every single one of you, whether you believe in it or not. This is a time in the evolution of this dreamlike world that you are experiencing for it to shift higher. And by shifting higher, we mean shifting higher in consciousness. Now, not everyone will be able to make this change. Those who cannot will remain and will experience your earth as it is now. But for those of you who are able to make a shift into a higher energy level, your world will be quite different. This won't happen overnight, and there is no wondrous ship that is coming to carry you off to some other place, as much as many people might wish it. No, these changes happen within your own being. Now, when each of you evolve to a certain level of awareness and spiritual understanding, you may indeed completely leave this experience of worldly life and move to higher dimensions. But no ship is needed for that, unless you so seriously believe in a ship that you, by your mind, manifest it, and that would be fine. But no, we are not sending any ships to pick each of you up. This is a spiritual evolution, and your world is evolving on a universal level right now. When there are dramatic changes in each of your lives, doesn't it feel tumultuous? In the same way, when your experience of Earth itself is evolving, there will be more tumultuous experiences there as well. And this is why we say there may be more storms, fires, earthquakes, etc., because of the dramatic shifts going on, both within each of you and within Earth itself. As I said last week, there are two parts to this evolution for it to happen in a more easeful way. One is, of course, the external influx of light, or as many of you would call it, grace, that helps you to uplift your awareness. But there's an equal part that you can take responsibility for, which will help it progress in a more balanced way. To do this requires going within. Now, many of you have ways that you already go within. Perhaps you do sports and you reach the zone where your mind is absolutely silent. You feel free, like you could fly. But that's a transitory experience, isn't it? And it requires a great output of physical energy. Another way that many of you utilize is nature. And yes, experiencing the beauty and sometimes the stillness of nature is very uplifting. But again, it depends on an outer set of circumstances. You have to get yourself out into nature and see the perfect sunset, or find the most beautiful flower, or a breeze that carries a radiant fragrance. Sometimes there's a storm and your tent floods. Again, you're determining your inner state by outer circumstances, and only outer circumstances then allow you to experience that inner state. What it is doing is giving you a taste of what's within, and that's wonderful. But why not practice a method also that you can carry with you all the time, that doesn't depend on a set of outer circumstances, sometimes very difficult to achieve, in order to get that result? Every single one of you has, in one way or another, touched the experience of a space deep within you, of supreme silence, of joy rushing up from within. You just don't realize that's what you're experiencing. Say you're very hungry. And perhaps you're hungry for pizza. Many of you like pizza. If you don't like pizza, substitute it for something you love. So you're very hungry. And in the case of pizza, you look up that phone number to order it to be delivered. Because of course, this is the age of coronavirus, and you don't want to go out. So you call for a delivery of your favorite pizza. And while you're waiting, contemplating that pizza, you start to get hungrier and hungrier. Because of course, the more you think about hunger, the more you will experience hunger, right? Finally, the doorbell rings, and there's the pizza. You pay the delivery person and you bring it in the house. You open the box and get the first smell. Ah. And it just makes you want to eat that pizza, right? So you take the first piece and you take the first bite. And what happens? Without thinking, your eyes close, you breathe in, and it's silent. Just for an instant, it's silent. And there is a momentary, tiny moment of bliss that arises. After that, each piece is more mundane, isn't it? But that first bite, oh my, so good. And your mind goes absolutely silent for a moment. The reason for this is that when you satisfy a powerful desire, the mind becomes quiet and bliss arises. But unfortunately, this experience lasts for only a moment or two. If you're lucky, it lasts a day. And then the rest of your life shifts back, and it becomes more mundane again. So in that experience, you are touching for a brief moment, a flashing forth of the state of your inner self. But it's so brief. And because you tend to live with your awareness established in the worldly reality instead of within, you identify that flashing forth of your inner self because the mind was still. You identify it with the pizza, right? Or with your girlfriend, or with a beautiful sunset, or a babbling stream. Absolutely, there are qualities in nature that can quiet the mind. But again, it requires you physically being there. It's not something you can carry with you all the time. So you can't establish yourself in that state when you have to do a long run to get there, or go somewhere where there's water, or a mountaintop, or a pasture. Some of you may be blessed enough to live near that. But again, if you live in that experience all of the time, it loses some of its radiance. It becomes normal, doesn't it? That's why we encourage you to learn how to go more directly to that inner space where your mind is quiet and bliss can shine forth. The bliss of your own inner light. And one of the very best tools for that, which can go everywhere with you, is to meditate. Now you're immediately going to protest and say, but Michael, I can't meditate when I'm trying to work, when I'm cooking and my baby's crying. No, you have to give attention to those events. But the more that you meditate, the more you establish yourself in that state or near that state of inner silence. And it changes your reaction to outer events. They lose some of the intensity of their charge, and you can simply move to act from a quiet and loving space, without the drama, without the outer intensity that there used to be. Because a part of you is always resting within. And when you establish yourself in that state, the light of that experience is radiant. It radiates out to others without them even knowing. They suddenly feel a little more peaceful, a little more loving, or a little quieter. So not only do you benefit, but as you grow and change within, your world begins to do the same thing. Now, no doubt many of you remain very concerned about what's happening in your world. The United States, for example, has both domestic unrest, as events around racial inequality have arisen, and events about the virus as it is increasing in severity and especially in numbers. This is why you meditate, so that you can witness these events and perform whatever actions are appropriate in the moment, but remain peaceful and centered within, even as it appears that your world is in turmoil. Within every generation of man on your planet, there is a time when there are tumultuous events. And over the last century or two, it has become worldwide tumultuous events. World War I, World War II, international conflicts that involved multiple countries, financial downturns, and now the virus, the global pandemic. You can choose different paths for dealing with the situations you're in right now. You can become immersed in the outer drama and feel terrified or angry or incredibly frustrated or exhausted. Because in that perspective, all there is trauma after trauma. Or you can make an effort to learn to go within and become more established there. From that space, you still have the experience of living in this world, and you still do actions that are appropriate in every moment. But you rest in peace, in tranquility. You learn to rest in this beautiful space of silence within. And as you continue that practice, you become ever more interested in going within than in watching the news and worrying about the future. And you begin to live ever in this present moment. That's part of waking up. Having the veil between higher dimensions and the dimension you have been living in, having that veil dissolve more and more. For you see, in higher dimensions, there is no time, there's no space as you know it, no certain physical place. There is only the experience of now, right now. No yesterday, no tomorrow, only now. So as you begin by going deeper within to remember who you are and to allow that veil of awareness to dissolve more and more, you become incredibly strong. Strong in your own inner convictions of a higher truth. Strong in your ability to deal with the world you live in. Because you have an incredible sense of inner conviction and strength that arises from within. And that gives you constant peace, even in the middle of a storm. This is why we are encouraging you right now to learn to go within. If you would prefer to go into nature and watch a stream or leaves or a pasture and find that that brings you within, that's very good. You can continue to do that. But be aware that you can't take that always with you. Of course, in the beginning, you have to sit for meditation. But as you continue to do it day after day, you begin to carry that experience with you for longer and longer periods, until eventually you can simply shift your attention and you're in that state. You don't have to sit down and watch your breath or use another practice. You simply shift your awareness and you tune in, so to speak, to your own inner being where it's silent. And you can do that even in a crowd, in a subway, in your busy workplace. And when you move from that state, it changes everything. Please allow me to talk for a moment about meditation. I have offered you the practice of witnessing your breath. It is very normal in the beginning to have a difficult time not affecting your breath, not feeling a need to change it, or feeling uncomfortable because you're suddenly so conscious of it that it makes you anxious. This is very normal, and it will pass. You breathe without your attention all day long. You breathe in and you breathe out. The rate changes constantly, and you may not even notice. It's only because you suddenly have put your entire focus on watching what it's doing that it makes you anxious, or at least some of you. Let that be okay. It's very normal. You can watch the anxiety and then shift it back to watching your breath. Your breath is a powerful connection between your spirit and your physical form. That's why this is such a powerful technique, witnessing your breath. So even if you feel anxious, keep doing it. It won't hurt you. Watching your breath is not going to cause you harm. You're safe. Just keep watching it. Allow yourself to be deeply relaxed. And if you have a very difficult time with your mind being restless, you can lay down. Lay straight on your back so your spine is straight, because that will help the energy move. But when you lay flat on your back, often your mind will become quieter. Then transition back to sitting up. So next time, we'll meditate together again. Each time you do it, it will be easier and easier. Don't have any expectations about what will happen in your meditation. You can often have long stretches, day after day, where it feels like nothing is happening. What's happening is simply below your level of awareness, so you don't experience it. But if you allow yourself to meditate, you will be drawn at a pace that's right for you, deeper within. All of us send every single one of you our love. I am Archangel Michael.